Welcome to the Happy Mama Village podcast with Bryann and Annie, a podcast about mamas, for mamas, and by mamas. Hey mamas, welcome. This is episode 10. We are your host, Bryann Zielinski
and Annie Henderson.
It's great to be back in our village where we talk about all things pertaining to happy mamas, like relationships, parenting, self-care, white wine versus red wine, and so much more. So, hey, Annie, how's it going?
Going well. If you didn't realize it, it is the time for Women's World Cup.
Yes.
And I don't watch a lot of sports, but when the Women's World Cup is on, I'm all about it.
Awesome. I'll admit, I don't know a whole lot about soccer, but okay. I do know, I think the World Cup is every 4 years, right?
Yeah. So, no, I'm thinking Olympics. So okay. Men's World Cup will be next year. Women's will be the year after. So they, every other year.
Every other year. Okay. So every 2 years. Very good.
If I have that wrong, I'm so sorry.
What a lousy fan. I do know when the Super Bowl is. So
there you go. See, I'll have to ask you that one. February, is that close enough?
Hey. You know what that means, Annie?
It is Mama Tip time.
Mama Tip time. So from time to time, we're going to be offering some quick tips for you mamas out there. Today's tip is an app. It's an app that we use at our house. It's called the Wonder List. That's WUNDERLIST. We'll have the information in the show notes. Now, my husband and I have been using it for a while. We use it for things that we want to talk about, things that we need to pack for a trip, gifts that we might want to buy each other. And you have different collaborators on the same list. So if I add something to the list, he can see it. He can mark it off once it's completed.
What a time saver.
Yes, it's great. It's great. So what we mostly use it for is grocery shopping.
Oh, that makes sense.
We've been using it. Yeah. So we've been using it for that for a while. And when I go to the grocery store, I don't take a paper list. I take my app. And as you buy things, I check them off of the list until I have nothing left. Now, what makes this a mama tip is that recently I've been using it with my kids. I've added them to our grocery list. They're now a collaborator on it. So they can add what they need at the store. Because I swear, every time I'd go to the store, the next day I'd be home and they'd be like, hey, Mom, I'm out of shampoo. And I'm like, I just went to the store. Why did you not tell me before I went to the store? Nobody wants to make a second trip. Nobody's got time for that. So now they can add what they need on the list and they have to take responsibility. So if it's not on the list, sorry, it's not getting bought.
I like it.
You're going to have to wash your hair with soap or something. I don't know.
Suddenly all of your soap goes missing.
Right. Now, I will admit, occasionally I will find like cheese balls and pizza rolls and donuts.
You gotta try.
On the list, but all in all, it's working really well. So that's Mama Tip for today.
Awesome.
Yay. Did you grow up playing soccer? You did, right?
I did since maybe 4 or 5.
Oh, awesome. Did you play all the way through school?
I did all the way through high school. And then I really enjoyed playing with my friends and people that I knew already. And I did not play into college. I didn't even look into it or try it out. I stopped. I did start playing a social league, but no college ball or anything after that. But it's so fun.
Awesome.
How are things going with you?
I've had a rough week. I'm not going to lie. It was a week of trials and tribulations. So I've got 2 kids going to camp. One left yesterday. The other one leaves on Saturday. Tomorrow. I haven't packed a thing for her yet at all. But we had a friend come over to the house to play with one of my girls who found out they had lice
Oh no.
right after they left our house. And so we had to, treat everyone. And
Right. That's
there's
never fun.
there are a few things that make me as angry as
Oh
lice.
no.
It just is an instant mood killer for me. So
It is. And it is.
yeah, so we had that, and then our AC went out in the upstairs all in one day. So this was all in one day.
That was a doozy.
It was a doozy. It was a doozy of a day. And then I had to pack for my daughter, and she left for camp yesterday morning, and I had massive mom guilt.
Oh.
Does that ever happen? Do you get that where you just feel like you're failing your children?
Sometimes I've gotten much better where I shift straight into self-care time. You have to go back and listen to that podcast again.
Yeah. So well, you know what? That's so funny. That's what my husband said. I called him literally sobbing yesterday morning. And he was like, "Hey, I just started listening to this great podcast."
That's so funny.
Yeah, he should listen to it. And it's about these two women, and they talk about moms. And obviously, he was talking about us, and it was super sweet. So yeah, that was his advice to me, is to go back and listen to
That's so
our
funny.
podcast.
He's sweet.
Yeah.
He's sweet.
He's sweet. So yeah, we're doing better today. We got a little bit better
Good.
mindset. But yeah, I mean, everybody faces that. I think it's at some point you kind of get down about mom guilt, but it's great though, because that kind of brings us right into our topic about adversity. There are all kinds of different sorts of adversity out there, and I'm excited about our new series. Annie, tell us about it.
Right. So we're going to have our next series, a few podcasts, is on overcoming adversity.
Awesome.
So we're going to have a few interviews, and it's going to look a little bit different in each interview. People from all over the world. I think our next two interviews are both from different countries. So I'm so excited.
We're going global.
We are. It's going to be amazing. So our first interview, I'm so excited. Her name is Tina Udemezue. And Tina, are you there?
Yes, I am.
I'm so excited to have you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yes. And just a little bit about Tina. She is a best-selling author on Amazon, and she'll tell you a little bit about her book. She was born in Nigeria, and she's been in the UK since 1986. And today she is going to tell us all about herself and growing up. And Tina, we're going to start off. If you could tell us a little about sickle cell anemia.
Right. Sickle cell disease or sickle cell anemia is the name given to a group of inherited disorders, typically inherited from person's parents. The most common is known as sickle cell anemia. It results in the abnormality in the oxygen hemoglobin found in the red blood cells. So what happens is that the red blood cells is supposed to be round, but in sickle cell disease carriers, their red blood cell is like banana. That's why it's called sickle.
Okay.
So it's sickle shaped.
I never knew that that's where it got its name.
I didn't either.
Yes. And when it's going through the blood vessels, it gets stuck sometimes. And it's not something that you have to know when it's going to happen. And that's why sometimes people with sickle cell is as if they are very unreliable, because you could be happy now, no problem, and the next minute you start having pain because the blood, as it's going through the blood vessel, gets stuck.
Oh my gosh.
And then the pain starts there, and you start sickling. You start having what we call sickle cell crisis, and that is a very serious pain.
And is that from a lack of oxygen?
Yes, and it's also from the blood vessel getting stuck. And when it gets stuck there, it becomes hot and becomes very painful. Sometimes it will even swell up.
Oh wow.
Okay.
And that is what it's like. And it's very painful. And it's more painful than labor pain.
So is it kind of like, I know when people have a heart attack, it's from a lack of blood flow to the heart.
So is it sort of similar? It sounds like maybe it's a little bit similar to that you get pain because there's a lack of blood flow.
That's it. That's one of it. But then the majority of it is because of that blood that got stuck there. You see, because he got stuck there, a lot of blood cannot go past.
Mm.
So a lot of them like
Okay.
stops there and starts giving you pain there. And that's how the
Okay.
pain causes. That's how it causes pain there,
Okay.
and it's very serious. It's a very serious pain that needs attention.
Gotcha.
And is that something that starts at infancy
Oh
or in
yeah,
childhood?
oh yeah. It does start from childhood. I think I was 6 months or so when mine started. So from birth, really, that's how they knew I had sickle cell,
Okay.
because I was in pain all the time. And when they went for tests and everything, that's when they found out that I had sickle cell disease. Because in those days, really, parents don't know when they have it. My mom and dad didn't know they are carriers.
Okay.
Because these days, you see, people that are carriers, the two of them cannot marry
Okay.
now.
Okay. Okay. Because they each carry a part and
Exactly.
it takes both
There's good
parts.
parts to make somebody with sickle cell. So if you're both carriers, they won't let you marry in Nigeria now.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a carrier, you have to marry somebody whose genotype is AA.
Interesting.
Because if you marry somebody else who is AS, then that S in that person and that S in yours will form SS, which is sickle cell disease.
Mm.
Interesting.
And that's why
Interesting. So
they are not allowed to marry now.
how did that affect your childhood? Because it sounds like, if you can't predict when it's going to happen.
Yes, you can't. During my childhood, like I said, it started when I was 6 months. When you are a child, it starts from fingers. Your fingers will swell up and be in serious pain. That's how the pain starts. So it's like the blood gets stuck in your fingers, and then your fingers swell up, and then you have serious pain then. And not only that, you also have to be admitted because you also lose blood. You're anemic, and then one of the reasons why you're anemic is because with sickle cell blood, it breaks down easily than normal blood. So your people with sickle cell, they are always anemic. For example, myself, as I am now, every 6 weeks I have to have what they call exchange blood transfusion. It's not a straightforward blood transfusion, it's an exchange whereby they remove my own 6 units of blood and throw it away and give me a 6 units of blood. And that keeps me okay for a couple of months before I need to have it
Wow.
again.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
fascinating, Tina.
So that's what I have to
I
go through to be alive.
I really appreciate you explaining the difference. I know my daughter and I just have regular old anemia, but we really, could probably go on and never really tell that we even have it. So I appreciate you explaining the difference because it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I do want our listeners to know and recognize, the difference and be aware of some of the things that you're talking about, because if they don't have it, if their child does, with your childhood. So what did that look like when you got a little bit older and you were in school?
When I was in school, when I was a bit older, I was always having crisis as well. And especially, you see, there are a lot of things that can cause the crisis. During exams, when I'm stressed, you see, stress is one of the things that cause my crisis. If I'm very cold during winter, or if I'm dehydrated, or if I have infection, all these are the things that cause my crisis. So all these things, if I have them, I'll start having crisis. So I try not to stress myself. I don't let anything stress me.
Wow.
So I try to whatever is happening in my life, I try to not to let it stress me, because the last thing I want is for crisis to start. Another thing is, if I'm in pain caused by something else, it can cause crisis. Any pain that comes, for example, when I started dialysis, when sickle cell damaged my kidney, the first time they put needle in my vein, I started sickling immediately, that they couldn't do it. So I was having crisis for about a week because of that. So pain is something that, acute pain is something that can cause crisis. So all this, if you think about
So
it, you have to try and prevent them. if you can.
Well, I think that I know that we would all love to hear how did you keep yourself from getting stressed? You know, when your kid gets lice and your AC goes out and you've got to pack 2 kids for camp, what do you use to overcome that stress, to manage your stress?
Right. You see, the most important one is that I do future self. Like whatever is happening to me now, I don't dwell on it. I move myself to the future when everything will be okay. You see, in my head, since I started doing personal development, in my head, I can transport myself to the future and not let me be dwelling on whatever is happening now. And also, I talk to myself, self-talk. I'll say, Justina, you need to man up. I don't know why you're worrying about this.
Well, you need to girl up. You need to woman up.
But it's like whatever is happening, sometimes we worry about things that doesn't even happen.
That's right. Yes.
There's a lot of things that we worry in life. About 90% of what I worry about is something that I've realized now that I've started taking stock, taking note. I've realized that about 90% of what I worry about will never happen.
My parents always called that borrowing trouble.
Yes, that's it. That's what it is.
Don't borrow trouble from tomorrow.
Exactly. Worry about what you can do something about. When we have a worry, the worry is divided into two. Those you can do something about and those you can't.
Yeah.
I don't bother myself with those I can't do anything about. Those I can do something about, I schedule my worry. Since I've learned how to do it now, I'll put it in my diary. I will say, okay, don't worry about it now. You're very busy now. There are a lot of things you have to do now. Worry about it on Saturday. I always put my worry on Saturday, and I put it in the diary because I know that by that Saturday I'll be very busy with my grandkids and my daughter, and I will not remember to worry about it. By the time I remember when I'm on my phone,
you won't remember
that's
to
gone.
worry.
Exactly, I don't remember it again. So that's how I not to worry about
That's
it.
a great tip.
So since I started doing that, I don't waste my time worrying, because that's one of the things that used to keep me awake at night. What if this happens? What if that happens? Especially when they used to give me bad news all the time. You're going to die soon. You're going to this soon. This is happening. That is happening. Your kidney has failed. You have heart failure. You have this failure. You have that failure. It's like I just have to say to myself, look, you can't worry about everything.
So, Tina, can I ask you a quick question? I'm gonna
Yes, of course.
I'm gonna commit the ultimate sin for women, and I'm gonna ask you how old you are, if that's okay.
No, it's not a sin. You see, somebody like me that they've told that I was going to die before I got to 21. I actually celebrate my age. And I tell anybody who wants to listen, I'll be 60 this year.
Celebration.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
When I was doing a little bit of research for this interview today, I was reading that the life expectancy for people who have sickle cell disease is like 40.
Yes, that's correct. Initially, when I was growing up, it used to be 21.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is crazy. And so now you're almost 60, which is amazing.
Yes. Yeah, that's why they are stopping people getting married now if you are carriers, because they are trying to eradicate it.
Oh, wow.
And the thing is that you see, a lot of when I started doing, I did a specialist nurse for sickle cell and thalassemia because I wanted to help people like me. And one of the things I noticed people were doing is a lot of parents that notice that they are pregnant with somebody like me, they always choose abortion.
Mm.
You see, and that really made me not very happy because I think if my parents aborted me, I wouldn't be here now.
Right.
I'm not saying it's an easy life. Far from it. It's not an easy life. It is a hard life. But then there is nothing in this world that I have wanted to achieve I haven't achieved.
Awesome.
In as much as it was difficult to achieve.
That's incredible.
Some of them, like I said before, some of them I took my exams in hospital. Some of them are because of stress. I couldn't take the exams and I had to sort of maybe start again and things like that. But eventually, I got to what I wanted to do. All I wanted all my life was to be a nurse.
Huh.
And I achieved that, and I was happy for it, you know?
That's awesome. So, at what point in your life did you kind of discover some of these tools? Was it just kind of a learning process, or was there something in particular that gave you the strength to overcome this adversity?
To be honest with you, initially, I think it was my parents and the way they treated me, that made me stronger, you know? Not only that, because I was a Christian, I believed in God, and no matter what I'm going through, I say, God, you are in control. I know you see me through,
Yes.
So that's how I coped with it initially, until later on now, about 4 years ago, when I started knowing about personal development, visualization, all those things, which is what I use now, and prayer and all those things. They are the things that help me cope. Because sometimes when you get a lot of bad news, it's like, gosh, is it ever going to end?
Right.
It's not that I don't get upset. When I get bad news, obviously I get upset. Like when they told me my heart has failed, I have heart failure or whatever. I got upset for that day when I then tried and planned what to do, because I said, I know I can heal myself. I just have to find out a way to do it. And that's what I did. Because initially I wasn't even allowed to travel because of all my health conditions. I didn't go to Nigeria for 13 years. So I didn't see my mom for that long, apart from when she came here,
Oh, wow.
that I saw her about a few years ago when she came, So I use things like that to help me cope, But now I don't really get that upset, because whatever they tell me, I just let it wash over me. Like water washes off a duck's back. I said, well, that's something I have to overcome. If I can overcome sickle cell, I will overcome this one. That's the way I put it, because there's no need worrying about it. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Sometimes they tell me, if you don't do this, you will die. I remember when I used to do dialysis, and I've done it for 5 years by then. And I decided I didn't want to do it one day. I don't know whether it was my birthday or something. I didn't want to go. I was so tired. I just wanted a duvet day. I said, that's not too much to ask, And I think I've done it every other day for 5 years before I decided I was taking that one day off. They called the doctor. The doctor spoke to me. You can't take a day off. If you don't do it, you will die. I said, look, death, let it come and take me. I am fed up. If the death want to come, you've tried your best. Let me just die. I've tried to. So I said, but that day I'm not going anywhere. If I'm going to die, let me die. I'm taking that day off. And that's what I did. And I said to the doctor, if I'm okay by the next dialysis, I will be there. If I'm not, thank you for taking good care of me.
Oh.
But I'm not coming today.
These are amazing. So, are all of these stories in your book? Can you quickly tell us what led you to write your book?
Everybody was telling me to write my book. Doctors, nurses, friends, colleagues, because they said, we see what you're going through. Sometimes they will hear that I'm in intensive care this week, for example. Next week or in 2 weeks' time, they'll see me driving around, going to work or doing this, doing that. And they're thinking, is that not the lady that was in intensive care the other day? That kind of thing. Even one doctor said to me, you are a woman of mystery.
You're a superhero.
Yeah, you sound like a great success story.
Tina, we definitely don't want to give away your whole book, because can you tell them what's next for you and where they can find out more about you and your book?
Right. My book is in Amazon.
And what is it called?
Yes, I Can.
Yes, I Can. And your name's a little bit different. So in the show notes, we will include a link and the name. And
there's a link there. I'll put, yeah. Tina Udemezue is my name, and it's Yes, I Can. So it just shows you that there's nothing you cannot overcome in life if you put your mind to it.
Exactly. Even if they tell you there's an age limit and all of that, you just busted through all those barriers and you're such an amazing example. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That was awesome. I think that wraps us up for today. Thank you, Tina, for sharing your amazing story with us.
Thank you, Tina.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. For more information about life coaching or to interact with us directly, you can check us out on Facebook at the Happy Mama Village or on our individual websites at rebuildingwithbryann.com
and AnnieMHenderson.com.
The show notes will have our email addresses plus additional information on Tina and her book titled Yes, You Can. Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
You can, I can, we all can. Yes, I can. Okay, mamas, be sure to join us here next week at the Village when we interview another great guest, Mark Mawhinney, in our series on overcoming adversity.
I can't wait. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Happy Mama Village. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a comment, like, or share, and be sure to join Annie and Bryann for next week's episode.